There's no point in going out to sales and marketing and start networking and doing all these other tips when you don't know who you are trying to attract. Because you will go out and network and talk to other people and get clients, but they might not be the right client for you. They could be just a client that has a pulse and a purse, where you are trying to work out within your business model, within your vision, who is your ideal client, and let's go and attract those people.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a good one. Our guest is all the way from Melbourne, Australia. She is the owner of Bookkeepers HQ. She helps bookkeepers with customized programs via mentoring, strategy sessions, workshops, and webinars. Her mission, and it's an amazing mission, is to make a positive impact on the lives of 200,000 bookkeepers globally by helping them understand the process to create a healthy business and lead them through their personal and professional transformation. Katrina Aarsman, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Michael, and lovely to be here.
Yes, it's great to have you. And I know you've been very busy over the last decade getting your business growing and helping bookkeepers grow their business. But before we get into all of that, could you share with our listener how you came to be doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, sure. Well, I did actually build my bookkeeping business over 15 years. So I started my bookkeeping business when I started a family. When they grew, I decided to take it a little bit more seriously. So I moved into some office space and was engaging staff every 6 months, growing really quickly, had a lot of growing pains, put on a mentor myself, and he helped me realise the process in setting up a successful bookkeeping business so that I would delegate the work over to staff and hire the right staff. And set up the automated systems that I needed so that the work could get done a lot more efficiently and effectively. So he helped me through that process. So it was probably about 15 years later, after I had my bookkeeping business, that I decided that it was probably time for me to get out of the bookkeeping industry, out of the business. So I sold my business in 2015, and I went off and wrote a book, Grow, Profit, Exit. And from that, it was a nice transition to move to help other bookkeepers do what I did. So I was still passionate about small business, but I moved it away from being small and medium business owners to niching around bookkeepers. So now I'm helping bookkeepers, as you said, through the mentoring and webinars, help them transform their working lives into a better life for themselves by showing them the process of how to create that successful bookkeeping business.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's great. And I think there's so many things that any business owner has to overcome, both professionally and personally, that it's not a one-shot deal. There's the way an owner thinks. There's a way they approach business. There's all sorts of business process. So there's so many ways that you can help them. And what I love about the fact that you're helping bookkeepers specifically is that that's our whole entire community globally, the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. And what's cool about that is when you're helping a bookkeeper, you're helping prepare them to help business owners who are typically small, medium-sized businesses that make up all of our countries, whether you're in the United States, Australia, Canada, the UK, or anywhere else in the world. Small business, medium-sized businesses are the fabric of what make our communities great. And so you're just really at the foundation of that. And that's cool. And I'm happy to have you on today to share about some of your tips on how you can help our listener build better, more successful business.
Yeah, that's exactly right. As a bookkeeper, you go into business knowing your stuff, knowing that you are good at being a bookkeeper and you can get work as a bookkeeper, but you don't actually know how to run a business and lead staff. And, that's not our natural talent or skill. So it's something that we do need to spend some time in our own professional development in that way, not just the skills of being a bookkeeper. We've got to know how to get it right, how to get the pricing right and the profitability and the scalability. And there are so many things that, we do need to discuss to create that successful business for them so that they can then provide that customer service to their clients.
Absolutely. So, and you help bookkeepers in many different ways, as you've mentioned. Maybe let's start and talk about sales and marketing.
Yeah, sure.
So what would you say in terms of if you were helping with the client acquisition side of things for a bookkeeping firm, where would you begin? What's your thoughts around where we're at today in the market with technology and everything that's going on? Where do you think the big opportunity is?
I think firstly, bookkeeping businesses need to look at their own business in terms of their vision. They've got to know what their vision for their business is and their business model. And there's a lot of things around that with pricing and all that stuff, but they've got to know a bit about their own business and what they're trying to do. And then they've got to do some work on their ideal client. And I know you've spoken about that in previous podcasts about who their ideal client is. And there's no point in going out to sales and marketing and start networking and doing all these other tips when you don't know who you are trying to attract. Because you will go out and network and talk to other people and get clients, but they might not be the right client for you. They could be just a client that has a pulse and a purse, where you are trying to work out within your business model, within your vision, who is your ideal client, and let's go and attract those people. So some of the sales, techniques that you would then implement once you know that information, that there's probably, 5 or 6 ways that you can market yourself. So firstly, within networking, I highly recommend that you get out in front of other business owners. So they're not always going to come to you. You need to go out and meet these prospective business owners, know who they are, and levitate or focus on those particular people. So whether you go to a weekly networking meeting or just an ad hoc on a monthly basis, consistency is important to make that relationship as you're networking. It's important to listen more than you actually talk. And it can also include networking with accountants. So as I would engage another client, they would also advise me of who their accountant is. So then I would go and network with that accountant. So I either meet with them, show them what I do, with a portfolio to them and show them, the checklists I use, the reports that I provide, the services that we offer, and network with those on an individual basis. So I guess the idea of networking is focusing on your ideal client and seeing if you can set up some one-on-one time with those clients to learn a bit about their business, see if you can network together. And, and just make some follow-ups as well. You've always got to follow up with whoever you connect with.
It's amazing when when we start to talk about what's involved. There's so many pieces of this process to master. And the one that you highlighted there that caught my attention was the listening aspect. And I would say that if we were talking about acquiring clients in general, from all the way through networking, meeting somebody, to having conversation, to having a sales meeting, listening is such an important trait. And I would say that whilst people could be good listeners, they don't listen in a scenario that's highly important, like a sales conversation or a networking scenario, because they jump on the first sign of them being able to help another person. And so it requires that deep listening and questioning and not making, in my opinion, any judgments or assessments until you get the full picture, and just keep asking questions, keep listening deeply to what they're saying. And I see it. The reason I bring it up is that I've seen it happen just recently in a couple of meetings with some bookkeepers, is that the people were talking and people were about to share their problems, and it was like, just, it's like almost getting like just a nibble of a problem. It's like, oh, I can help you with that problem. And then, 5 to 10 minutes of detailed response onto how to solve that problem, when really the person didn't even understand what their problem was or what they might need or how much information they would need. So do you find that this is a challenge out there? I'm starting to see that it's actually one of the bigger challenges myself, but what's your take on it?
Yeah, it can be a challenge for those people that don't actually like to be in that situation where they have to socialise. Like, they're good at engaging with a client that's come to them, or just scope them out and do the work, but to actually socialise, I'm finding a lot of my clients, my bookkeepers, aren't wanting to do that. They say, no, what's the next thing I can do around marketing?
Right.
But if you go there with the purpose of just having a bit of fun, meeting a couple of people, like, you don't have to put yourself under pressure to meet, the ideal client. Don't go in there desperate and, show those signs of, I need your business and I need your business. Tell me what you need and I'll help you. Just go in there to, having some fun, have some questions that you might like to ask prospective clients, ask them about their challenges. Just have a general conversation. I mean, that's all that we are doing, is having a conversation. And if it's natural, then it may lead into something else, which is, a possibility of having another meeting and talking a bit more business. But you try and keep the business side of it, the heaviness, out of these social networking events. If they're interested, set up a one-on-one and catch up in that way. But, just keep it light and friendly and fun.
I love that. I think that will make so big a difference for everyone listening, in that just bringing a little bit of fun. And I have a very close friend, and he's an excellent business person. He is excellent at follow up and making business happen. And I think what I see him do, when I think of what you're saying, is that in a fun situation, he literally just keeps it fun, but he will say, hey, you know what? You're a great person. I think, we should get together at some point. Why don't we set up a meeting right now on when we can meet and get to know each other better? And then once that's done, he goes right back to fun. And so it's just because he's very intentional. I mean, he's very successful, and he is all about the follow-up, the next step, moving the sales cycle forward. But at the same time, he also keeps it fun and, is very interested in the person that he's meeting, and it's not just about business. So I really like what you've said, and I think that'll help with the listening, because if there's we all have to go and produce results, right? I mean, if we're in business, and really, if you're not in business, there's objectives, right? We have life objectives that we have to accomplish. But I think letting go a little bit of those objectives in these scenarios will help tremendously, because it's not about going to get something at a networking meeting. It's about going to meet people and sharing and understand how we can help them, and listening for that. So that's going to be the theme of the podcast, perhaps. Fun, more fun.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And so networking is, would you say that's the place that most should be thinking, or what would be, for the people that say, hey, I really just don't want to do that, what would you say that their next best opportunity is?
Well, I think it's going to have to be social media. I think it's too big to ignore. And I'm finding a lot more bookkeeping businesses do have a Facebook page. Admittedly, they don't have time to do any posting on it. So, maybe they need to engage some social media content, writers, or, get some help in that way. But I think you at least need a page, a Facebook page, to put a couple of posts up at least a week, but also join other Facebook groups that are business related, so that you have a lot of small businesses actively asking questions on these business groups. so that you can answer their questions and help them, and perhaps send them information, and you will get clients out of that as well. If you are providing value to the other members of that group and you're popping up regularly, people will start to tag you in to say, okay, this person needs this advice, Hoy, come in and help us out or answer this question. So you'll become an expert in your bookkeeping field or your chosen software, whatever it is. You'll become the expert within that group. So the way to do that is to join a whole heap of business groups to start with. Find out, how many members there are and whether they're quite active. So if you're joining groups that have got like 10,000 members and there's no action going on, then drop out of the group. To find, you need to jump into these groups to find out what their interaction is. So you'll get a feel after a while if there's a lot of interaction, if they're talking a lot of business, or if it's just, some social content going on in there. So it's a good way of doing it remotely without having to put yourself in that networking situation. So you're in your comfort zone in front of the computer remotely, but you're giving value still. So I think the main key is to give value within this. And that's the same with your Facebook page. You want to provide value to your customers and prospective customers. So handing away, handy tips. Also with LinkedIn, I'm finding LinkedIn is starting to get more notice. There's a lot more people interacting on LinkedIn. I've got a procedure where I actually have an advanced search on my LinkedIn. So I search for my ideal client and then I connect with them through LinkedIn. So you draft up a message and you email them or message them through LinkedIn. If they want and, say, love to connect, blah, blah, then they connect with you and then you'd follow up with another message and say, thanks for connecting. Here's my website. Just give me a hoy if I can help you in any way. Something like that. Just keep it light. Just keep a connection going on. And there are scripts out there and there are courses out there to do around the social media to help you, know what content to put up and how to go through this process. But I think that's one of the big things that we do need to get into now. Post up some testimonials and create your database and leads from this, and then follow-ups. I think that's, another one of our important areas that we've got to get into.
It's such a massive conversation, the whole social media, and I think it's very misunderstood as to what it means and how to go about doing it. And I actually want to say that I think with your recommendation around networking is that humans buy from humans, right? It's not, they don't buy from businesses, they buy from human beings. So, and the whole conversation is know, like, and trust. People buy from people they know, they like, and they trust. So social media, where it fits, is definitely it's a way to get known. And I love and I've benefited from the strategy that you talked about. I was in a group and it was around some specific information that I was looking for an answer to. And I was in this group and asking people, and I saw, a few different people kept popping up and being really great and very helpful and very generous with their time. And I've hired a couple of those people to do work for me because they were so helpful. They didn't look for anything. They didn't try and get me onto a sales call. They just were blanketly being helpful and valuable in that specific group. And I can probably guess that they're not in a million different groups. They've picked their groups, and that jumps back to what you said about knowing your customer and knowing your vision for what you want and who you want to work with. That helps a lot more when you can say, oh, the people I want to work with are, they're over here hanging out in these kind of groups, because that's a way that you can get known, become liked, and then over time it gives you an opportunity to be trusted. But in the bookkeeping space, I always want people to go back to the basics. Like you said around the networking, is that it is maybe uncomfortable, but those are the ways that are proven to work. And I think there's magic when people are doing things that aren't necessarily comfortable for themselves. And so it's one of my things where I just don't want people to hang out in their office and think that just doing social media is going to help them. There's a wide range of things that they can do, both that are things that are in the comfort of their home, but as well outside in the world in the traditional measure. Now, social media, some great tips that you had around there. Do you have anything that you offer on any of your websites that would be a good start for them to go and download those tips or tricks around the sales and marketing, Katrina?
On my website, there is a free resources page that there are a few downloads there. I'm not specific on if there's any sales stuff.
We'll put the link. We'll put the link to that in the show notes for sure, because I think there's some good stuff that you can help around acquiring customers. So we've talked about networking. We've talked about social media. What else would you say is ideal in helping acquire new customers?
I think another one that I actually used was becoming a joint venture or finding people to joint venture with.
Nice.
So when you're networking or just in your network in general and who you're working with, you might build a relationship that, again, you trust and know and trust with another person that you could do a joint venture with. So I did some seminars, some workshop type of things with an accountant. So as a bookkeeper, I would provide perhaps some end of financial year things that small business owners need to do, and the accountant would provide a talk on some tax planning at the end of financial year. So we would both invite people and invite the public as well, so that I would get into her database, meet her clients, and she would meet my clients, and then we would network together, and I would potentially be able to chat to her clients, see if they need any bookkeeping requirements. And she also picked up a few of my clients that needed a new accountant and needed to talk to. So before you just jump into, say, grab this person, I know you, let's go do it, you do need to have a few dates before you go out and get married, is the terminology in the joint venturing. So get to know them, do a few things with them. You really need to know what their service is like before you start recommending it to your customers as well. But in a joint venture, it is doubling your database essentially by having access to their database to actually speak to, and you're supporting each other. You're halving the costs, and there are a variety of ways that you can do with the joint venturing, whether it's just presentations and speeches, or providing value to their clients as well. If you've got some marketing material like some checklists or downloads that you can email to their database. So it's connecting with each other's database. So you're doubling up the people that you are making contact with.
I love this one. And I don't know that we've actually tackled this on the Successful Bookkeeper podcast to date. And I think it's awesome, because there's so much opportunity when it comes to sharing audiences and, like you say, doubling up your database. And I think bookkeepers have a lot to offer small business owners. So to look, like you said, dating folks, if you're going to date someone, look to who's hanging out with a heck of a lot of great small and medium-sized business owners. And there's a lot of people in communities that they're trying to do the same thing. They're out there trying to get noticed, building up communities, adding value first type stuff, workshops, different things that they've got going on. And I would say that a bookkeeper has the opportunity to add really powerful, potent content that likely may not have been done, because I don't see that many bookkeepers doing this type of thing.
No. And the type of joint ventures that you can create is, with obviously people within your industry like accountants, finance advisors, mortgage brokers, those type of things. But also, I've got a lot of bookkeepers that are connecting with industry experts. So maybe in hospitality or in construction, like tradies. So they will go out and speak, and this, I guess, comes into the speaking engagement as well, that go out and speak with those tradie associations. So, they're, again, getting into the database of, a whole industry potentially. So it's, going outside of your square, not just, looking at your clients or your accountants, go outside and think of who else has got similar clients, or, where your ideal clients are hanging out. Go and speak to, those people that are leading those clients and see if you can get an engagement in there.
I think it's great. And I think I really stress that I think bookkeepers have an eye on things that is very valuable and not often spoke of. You might get information, you might see accountants out speaking about certain things, but the content's going to be very different than the eye and the perspective of a bookkeeper. So I think that opens up opportunities. There's an organization called EO, or Entrepreneurs Organization, where they have thousands and thousands of members of entrepreneurs that have a minimum $1 million business and sales revenue. That's all over the world. That's a great place to approach and see, do they have events where they're asking speakers to come out? I know it happens here in North America. There's also Vistage, I think it is, another big they're like masterminds or accountability groups for entrepreneurs, large to medium or small to medium-sized entrepreneurs, business coaches. I mean, there's so many different groups and organizations. You've mentioned industry. There's this is, I think, a really, really great, if you're, want to make that commitment to actually getting out and doing some speaking. And I'm not going to say that you're a great speaker, because I doubt that anybody's going to sit there and go, oh, well, this is my forte as being a speaker. But you're likely extremely knowledgeable listening. You're listening right now. You're extremely knowledgeable. You have something to say. You have a unique perspective on your industry and what you do as a bookkeeper. That's valuable to these people, because they need to grow their business. They're looking for the new, latest, greatest way to put more freedom into their lives, more profit into their lives. So whatever you can do to deliver and give that content to them and show them a better way, they're going to value that. And it's such a powerful position when you're speaking at a group. You're in an authority position. So right away, if we do get to actually have a conversation or a next step discovery call with any of these people that you've spoken to, you're at a already authority level position on them, which is great from a selling perspective.
Yeah, that's right. And you may not, as you say, be a great speaker or think yourself as a speaker and hate public speaking as I do. But once you start talking about a subject it just comes out, because you know it so well, and you live and breathe this content, whether it's, end of financial year stuff. You just, it just comes out of you, everything you know about end of financial year. So it's not difficult to do. So, you don't need copious notes. You just need, some points of go, okay, I want to talk about, these 5 points, and it will just come out, and you'll be in your comfort zone because you're talking what you know. So it's not that difficult. Yeah.
I agree. I think I'm going to throw a challenge out there to you, the listener, to go and share what you know with your community of entrepreneurs and small business owners in your community, and find a way to go out there and serve them, and it will only bring great things. I love this strategy, and I'm glad you brought it up, Katrina. It's a beautiful one. I think it's due and ready for the marketplace.
Yeah, and it's not for everyone. Like, there might be businesses that don't want to project themselves that far and that wide, but it's for those businesses that do actually want to grow, fast track their growth and become that expert and, have that opportunity. So it's, just go for it.
I agree. This is definitely an advanced move. It's not gonna come out in the basic startup, go, get known, get out there and, bootstrap it. This is an advanced move, but it's one that will will be very, very profitable and valuable to a bookkeeping business if you're one that wants to take this on. So it's a challenge to those that want to do it. Go out there, start looking, and we'd love to hear back at some point to hear stories of where you took this on and went and did it and produced some results. I'd love to hear about it. I just absolutely love this one because it really hits the note of helping the business owners in our communities be powerful around their finances. And that's the core thing, that if you're doing that, you're moving in the right direction. And this is a way to really get out there and do it, whether you end up doing business with them or not. I guarantee you, your energy you put into this will be returned. Absolutely. It might not come from that. It'll come from somewhere else. It's just the way that it works. But it'll be a good exercise for someone listening right now in your car, at your desk. You're listening right now. You're thinking about it. Just take that action. So, Katrina, what else? I mean, we could probably go on for hours, I'm feeling now, but we don't have a ton more time. What should we end on?
All right. One of my favorite things, which is, it is sales. It's not particularly, it is a bit of marketing, but have a look at your current client base. Like, how often is it that we get stuck in our work and our compliance and we do what they need and then we think, oh, gee, I wish I had time to improve that chart of accounts or to talk to them about their gross profit, or, gosh, they're whinging about their inventory. If only I had time. But we need an opportunity to sit back, have a look at our current database and think about each individual client. How more can you service them? And I'm not saying just go out and say, okay, we need another $5,000 from you. What can I do for you? Really think about the client and how you can actually service them. Do they need a cash flow or a budget? Would they really benefit from that because they're struggling? Have they got an antiquated inventory system or whatever? Can you actually think again outside the circle, outside of, what you are providing them, and say, okay, I can really systemize this part of your business and let's do a report and, let's talk about that. Even to the extent of management reports, like giving them, more management reports than you do, or giving them the opportunity to say, let's sit down once a month and talk about your figures, rather than just ignoring all the figures that I'm giving you. And as PB says, empower them around their finances. So there is so much more serviceability in our current client base that we all forget about. And it's just because we're too busy, we're trying to get more clients and grow our business, but we're just sitting in compliance and not thinking about what else can we do for our current clients. And it's just so basic, and it's just gets you so frustrated when you think, okay, next BAS or, next compliance, whatever your compliance is, whatever your deadlines are, tick that one off. Now we've got to relate to the next deadline. So just, give your business that opportunity to sit back and review what you're doing and what else is in there that you can help your clients with.
Great. I just love this one too. It is taking a step back, and there's no good time to take a step back, really.
No, never.
But when you do, that step back may actually give the opportunity to get more step backs because you're thinking more strategically for yourself and for your clients. And that's going to be so much more valuable to them. I mean, they need what you're doing at a base level, but they also need that little edge, that little, difference in their business that will then take them to the next level. So it's so required, but how do we find time to take the step back?
Yeah, and that's going to be the struggle, and that's where you need to really look at your business. And we could start talking about some time management tools, which I'm sure we don't have time to do. But if you were to look at your weekly commitments and schedule a couple of hours a week, that is like, pretend it's a client to work on your business. And it just needs to have to be done. And whether it's, maybe it's on a Sunday morning or, some business, you need business time to be able to do this. Otherwise, you are going to be in the exact same situation you are today in 3 months, 6 months, a year's time. If you don't put time aside to think about your business, and, what we have to do right now is think about our business, how we're going to find time to review and plan out some strategy around this, providing more service to our customers. So there's a lot involved in this, and, I suggest getting a mentor to help you work this out, so that you need to look at what you've got on in a day. You need to be delegating, whether you're employing staff, maybe you drop off your ideal clients, your D clients, those bad clients. Maybe you need to find time in your day to work this out. And it's not an easy, fix. It's going to need some strategy around it, some planning around it. But it basically needs to be done to grow. Otherwise, as I say, you're going to be in the exact same situation, just busier.
Absolutely. And that comes back again to that vision, which is where do you want to go? What do you want to accomplish with this business? And whatever way you're doing it today is the way that you've been doing it. And the likelihood is it's just going to keep on going that way. If nothing changes, nothing will change. So it has to be interrupted. The process, the way you're doing things today has to be interrupted. So whether it's going out and finding a mentor or a coach, or a company that helps bookkeepers grow their business, like Pure Bookkeeping, or there's lots of different companies that help. There could be just a one-on-one coach, business coach, whatever it is. If you really want something different in your business, it's going to require that step back. And as Katrina put so greatly, is that's the opportunity that's going to get you to look deeply into what it is you're doing and what you can do differently to produce different results. And you're right, Katrina, we could probably have a whole nother episode on just time management, but we're going to have you back for sure, because you've got a long list of things that you help bookkeepers with, and from planning, goal setting, getting your vision created, organizational charts, how to find good staff, designing your business to exit. There's a long list of things that you help bookkeepers do. So we'll definitely have you back. But what if people want to get in touch with you? What is the best way?
Probably by email. It's info@bookkeepershq.com.au.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll have that in the show notes. Plus, we'll have links to your resources section. We'll have links to your website. This has been great having you, and I know you're all the way over there in Australia on a different time zone, and it's probably really either super, super early or super, super late. So on behalf of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast community, I want to thank you for your time.
My pleasure. I really enjoyed it. I love talking about this stuff. This is my happy place.
Well, it definitely comes across, and it's been great having you, and I look forward to having you back again.
Excellent. Look forward to it. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. That wraps another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.